My guest today is Megan Ramey, wearer of many hats in the bicycle advocacy world, including a train conductor hat, which I'll maybe explain a little bit more later. But the largest hat she wears is Safe Routes to School Manager for Hood River County School District. Megan, welcome into the show.
Pleasure to be here.
Cool. You do so many things in the biking world, but I wonder if you could share what your first thing that you did that was sort of like super bikey. I'm talking beyond just riding around town and stuff like that. Like when your first foray into being like a bike nut, bike advocate, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I would say I was born into advocacy on Boston's first parking day. And that was when it was like 2 weeks after I moved to Boston from Madison. I don't think even knew what the word advocacy was. It was parking day, first ever, right in front of City Hall. And I just the concept of taking a parking space and turning it into just like a park in front of City Hall that day, like really opened my eyes to what street space is used for. I took it for granted in Madison, obviously, because it's a platinum biking city. And so going from Madison to Boston, I was like, holy cow, like we got some work to do. And so that's when I met the then volunteer staff member for Livable Streets, which was Jackie Douglas, and she now works for the Federal Highway Division, and became treasurer for Livable Streets like shortly thereafter.
What year was that? Like around
2008.
So did having your daughter and riding around with her, is that how you got into like another part of your advocacy? Is that what brought you into kind of like the school trip stuff that you're doing now? Or tell me about how your daughter's influenced your advocacy.
Yeah, so I was childless then. Obama was elected, 2 months later after that parking day. And my husband and I had a bet of like Obama being elected. We would have a baby. If not, we would go to New Zealand. And yeah, my daughter was one of the Obama babies. So
Wow.
She was born January 2009. She started balance biking to school as a 3-year-old. And I would...
In Hood River?
No, in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Yes, and I would run alongside of her. We would talk about the stoplights. And I just... Besides putting her on my bike, having her bike next to me, that was a whole nother level of just a different threshold of what went through my brain besides biking by myself. And I just knew that in order to get more moms and dads out there, that they would have to feel comfortable putting kids on their bikes. And then there was the next level of having the kid bike next to you on the street, which is it's a huge leap of faith for any parent to go to. And so I was like, oh, okay, so we already had a lot of work to do. We were ranked 5 worst in the world at that time, Boston was. And so then just like in my head, I was like, okay, so now I'm just going to be that staunch mom advocate that takes my baby to all the community meetings and stands up there with her, because the decision makers needed to see the kids right in front of them. And yeah, that's when I became like really involved in like safe routes. Not really involved with safe routes to school. I would lead our like what would just happen yesterday, like bike to school day. So
Okay, talk about what happened yesterday. I was trying to think of how I would explain to people how you're involved in so many different kind of projects. Tell me, what did you do the last week? Like just share with us Megan Ramey's last week or so.
So yeah, I've been doing a lot. So yesterday was National Bike to School Day, and surprisingly, I didn't actually bike to school with any kids because I was busy. I've been busy teaching up at Parkdale Elementary. So I've been teaching kindergartners and 5th graders how to ride bikes, and I've had an amazing sensei. He's like the PE teacher there. It's his first year, and it was like 1 year ago today that he was interviewing for the job, and he saw me bring in all the bikes to donate to kids, and he's like, okay, I'm getting this job, like I want to be a part of this. And like 1 year later
Nice.
I'm teaching with him, and he was actually I learned so much from just shadowing the PE teachers on their classroom management, like how they motivate the kids. And he's just like this Danny McGaskill of, Hood River County. Like, the kids like love him. He's like, who's ready to do backflips on their bikes? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. But so I've been teaching the kids how to bike. And then part of what I do in the classroom is like, who rides a bike to school? And there's like two hands that go up. And I'm like, who has a bike at home? And at least 5 or 6 hands shoot up. And I have like my spreadsheet. I keep track of all the kids. Then I go back to this volunteer bike shop that I help run with my husband. We pick all the bikes out based on the kids' inseams, and then I get to deliver the bikes to them like I did today. So I delivered 17 bikes to the kids of Parkdale Elementary. And planning a school street demonstration for launching on Monday for a different elementary school, which I could talk that's like 2 years in the process. And writing a press release on Odell demonstration project that we're going to be doing this summer. Was a federal grant that we won. Yeah, so that's my week.
Okay, you all right, so I'm like, okay, safe route to school for Hood River County School Districts. That means essentially you're in charge, at least with that one piece of what you're doing, that job. You're in charge of all the schools in the district and getting kids on bikes, and that means, like you said, in Parkdale, you're doing educating, getting them on the bike. But you kind of glossed over this thing. You and your husband and some other folks like get bikes for the kids, and that's something you're doing as well. So how does that work? Are you taking donations from the community and then refurbishing and handing back out? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, so the organization is called Anson's Bike Buddies. We took it over about a couple of years ago, and we walked into a storage unit or a storage space behind essentially an optometrist, an eye care center. That was Anson's dad. And it was like, I don't know if anybody knows what Barrel of Monkeys was or is, the game that you play where you pull out the monkeys and they're all attached together. That's what this bike space was like. You take one bike out and 4 come with it. They were like just wrangled together. So we emptied the space, we inventoried everything, and now we kind of got a pretty well-oiled machine where every Wednesday we volunteer. So that was last night. We volunteer. We have 4 wrenchers. We get free pizza from Domino's, free beer from Ferment, and have music playing. And it's like a nice community hour where the wrenchers get to talk about their week. One of our wrenchers just ran a 100-miler down in Ojai, and we just got to hear all of his stories. And it's a really nice community. And then, of course, I'm like the lady on the bike ice cream truck. That's what I call it, because like my truck is just loaded with bikes, and so I pull into the schools and all the kids' eyes are just like popping. I joke that I need to get one of those like chimes, like an ice cream truck. But yeah, it's a great organization, and we get free bikes from, I joke that Hood River County has the most bikes per capita in their garages, and so people just donate. We have so many, sorry, quick plug. We have so many $2,000 plus drop bar road bikes. If anybody is looking for one for $100 or $200, I will sell it to you in a second.
Okay.
Nobody wants them anymore.
I was hearing you talk about getting bikes for kids, and I'm like, it's Hood River. Doesn't every kid out there like totally shred on bikes and stuff? And it made me think about, are there some misconceptions that people have about who lives in Hood River? And like maybe I'm projecting here. I'll say that I kind of think like everybody in Hood River is kind of said, isn't it like this like outdoorsy crew with their camper vans and stuff? Or no, that's not the case. I mean, correct me on that.
No, that's the image, and that's what drew me here to move here from Boston. I wanted to essentially live a walkable, bikeable lifestyle in a dense like town center where I could get outdoors really easily, and that's what attracts a lot of people to move here. But the background, the base of Hood River County are orchardists, and orchardists employ migrant workers, and so you have about 40% Latino population in Hood River County. And two of my schools has low income rates in the 70s to 80%. So incredible need, and lots and lots of kids who just need a bike at home. and never have had that opportunity.
Yeah, and I noticed that grant, the most recent one that you got from Oregon Department of Transportation, this $25,000 grant was specific for underserved kids at underserved schools or cities. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're going to do with that grant that you got in April?
Yes, so that's from, that was a federal grant from the Governor's Highway Safety Association and the National Road Safety Foundation. I always have to check that. So we were ODOT, I applied through ODOT essentially a week before it was due. I got in touch with my grant manager, Heidi Manlove, and I was like, Heidi, I really want to apply for this for Odell. Can we? And she's like, you have my blessing. Let's just do it. And so we did. And it was always, I wanted to do a demonstration project because Odell has Highway 282 going through it. And I made a density map of the students' homes in Odell. And there are a huge density of kids who live right across the street from their school from Highway 282, only a quarter mile away from their school, and they can't cross it. So I wanted to create a demonstration crosswalk and what I'm calling a Puma path. It's their mascot, are the Mid-Valley Pumas.
Nice.
And then run an after-school club for that community for 5th to 8th graders to help me engage the businesses in this project or the organizations. And so I'm admitting probably I'm too, I guess, I don't know.
You say yes to everything? Is that what you're trying to say?
I don't ask permission. I ask forgiveness. And
there you
so
go.
Heidi and I got a little bit. We forgot, or she didn't realize I was applying for Highway 282, and didn't ask permission from Ryan Winchheimer. And then we got. We were one of 5 state agencies who won it.
And now they're like, shoot, we have to actually do this.
Yes, so they had to do, essentially, our first project meeting for this, there was a gentleman on the call that was literally golfing and having his virtual meeting to help make this happen. And I was like, okay, that must have been Ryan telling him he had to be on the call.
Oh, nice. But you've done that before, right? You do these school streets or these demonstration projects. I like that. You did one recently more closer to town, right? Where you're essentially just creating space in the existing roadway so that kids have a safe place to go. So we haven't really said it, but for folks who don't know, Hood River and the county there is, it's got that essentially rural land use. Besides downtown, downtown's probably the only place with a connected sidewalk network. Yep. So you should be saying all this because you know it better. But I mean, a patchwork of sidewalks. So as a safe routes person, I'm sure you're having to, I'm assuming that's why you're going toward these demonstration projects that essentially just traffic calm the existing street because there's really no other space for these kids to ride.
No,
right?
And it's I'm really cheap in terms of infrastructure spending. And so I would rather, especially in a rural environment, the rural design guide that was done by, I can't remember, it's like my Bible because then I get to go to these engineers and leaders in town and here is what is being done in McCall, Idaho, or what's another big one where the Tetons is. Jackson is a really nice example. So is Whitefish. Very outdoor communities that have managed to prioritize active transportation for kids. And they have the infrastructure to show for it, and they are the same population as us. So, nice. But they all essentially create side paths in their street. They're shared use side paths with paint and maybe some physical separation, not protection. And it's super cheap. I did the demonstration for the middle school for $12,000. A lot of that was Zikla being very nice to me and giving me some of their zebras at cost, but we got that done, and now it's going to be permanent for one section of that street coming up soon this summer.
Megan, you can't just gloss over something like Zikla and zebras. People are like, wait, what does zebras have to do with it? Is it? I thought it was rural, not tropical. Yeah. No, she's talking about those plastic curves with a little white stripe, but the zebra curves. And Zikla is this, they're from Spain, right? Some Spanish company.
Yeah, they are based in Barcelona, and they're wonderful people. So
So I'm glad to hear that you said that one's going to become permanent, because I was like, these pilots and demonstrations are all fine and good, but unless folks can end up making a change that actually lasts, do they really matter as much? So that's really cool. And so you glossed over bike clubs. So you do these after school bike clubs. Those are some of my favorite posts that you make on social media. Just the idea that kids are, not just going home and going to their rooms, but heading out to a bike club and riding around with you and whatever else. So what's the basic kind of framework of the bike club? How do those work?
So when we started the whole Safe Routes to School process, like the ODOT planning identification process, there were a lot of parent surveys done, and one of the biggest response was there's no free after school programs for essentially non-athletic or sports people. There's no there was like the robotics club, and that's another big one. Anyway, those are free clubs, but there's no like outdoor free clubs for just kids who just want to get outside. And so I started this club with an ODOT safety grant, and it was always part of the demonstration project to begin with, because I wanted kids to be in the conversation from the very beginning of the demonstration. I wanted it to be a Safe Routes to School demonstration, and I wanted them to say it's going to work over here and not over here because these are our desire lines. And then they also went door to door with me to get all of the neighborhood signatures for the demonstration. So it taught them civic engagement last year. And then, I had girls that they were scared to death of riding down a very gentle slope. And so we had a very wide range of abilities between kids like, I had this boy named Robert who went to Post Canyon every single weekend, which is our big mountain biking destination right near town. And, he's got extraordinary abilities. And then I had a girl named Taylor who, she told me, like, I'm so glad I'm in this club and walking with you guys, because otherwise I'd be at home alone. She, had a major mental block about going downhill, and we got her comfortable with using her brakes, easing the squeeze, we call it, on your handbrakes. And then we eventually, in the summertime, rode all the way to Mosier with that group. And they got to go sit at the Mosier waterfall and have tacos, and then we took the bus home with our bikes on the bus. And so that's kind of like the general gist of the club, is they choose the destination, they choose their favorite snack spot. I say you can have whatever they want as long as it's like one serving. And that's a big motivator. And then we bike through the streets and through our local trails, and I talk about I subversively educate them on transportation etiquette and transportation biking when it's like relevant to them. So when we come to an intersection that's scary, like, let's walk our bikes across this one because it feels kind of gnarly. And we're learning hand signals and just like when to pay attention to what's going on in your heart. If it's like beating really fast, like maybe just get off and walk your bike a little bit. And just empathy, for other people in the street. It's just so much fun. Every time I do it 2 days a week with a local Hood River crew, and every time I think I might be exhausted, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do with them today? They're gonna know I'm tired. I just they immediately, my energy goes whoop, and it's just I go into the best weekend ever because of them.
Love it. You mentioned that they get to choose their own treat or snack or whatever. Do they also get to choose their music? Tell me about the playlist. What are the kids wanting to listen to these days?
In general, it's not just the after school club. It's like every single bike to school ride I lead. It's all the girls beat the boys all the time with Taylor Swift. Hands down, that is the most popular request, and I love to honor it. So I think it's fantastic.
So there's multiple Taylor Swift songs that can keep a ride going, right?
Yeah, I kind of started off with, so I use YouTube Music as my preferred streaming, and I started off, and then the algorithm kind of takes over, and sometimes I skip songs, but it's generally pretty accurate. And then sometimes a boy will come up and like, I want to listen to AC/DC, and like, okay, let's completely change the algorithm. So, but music is huge. It makes, for me, it's like, I have two religions. It's getting outside and it's music. And so I get to live kind of through their ears and eyes. And that just is very fulfilling.
Nice. I love that. I think this kind of goes into, I know that you're a fan of kid biker gangs, right? Which we both share that. I'm totally into it. And it made me think, yesterday I was out riding with some bike buses in Portland on walking bike to school day.
I
And
saw that.
yeah, they were awesome. As you know, the bike bus vibe in Portland is really strong right now, and there's lots of people coming out and lots of energy. But I didn't share this in my story because, I don't want people to take it the wrong way, but part of me was a little bummed that there's so much like energy from all the parents to like put on neon vests and like, be safe on the ride. Like I get that. I understand where that's coming from. I've got 3 kids myself, but I was kind of like, it would be so nice if the kids were just doing this on their own and understanding safety and how to build that safe community without all these parents in neon vests around, like, shushing them here to there and, making sure that everything is safe all the time, which in my opinion sort of makes it seem more dangerous than it actually is, right? So I don't know. I just throw that out there to like, and I love what you do with the bike club and this idea of biker gangs, and you start talking about music and kids coming together and having fun. I wonder if you ever think, ideally, we don't have to have so many parent volunteers around these things, and the kids are just like self-organizing and getting out there and having fun.
It's so funny you bring that up, because when I started the bike train in the very beginning in 2020, the hardest thing for me, and what I think Sam Balto has such a great asset, is he has so many parents biking with him. And so it's this fine balance between it takes a village and looking out for the kids to make sure, if somebody has a mechanical or like breaks down crying, I don't know, who knows, and not being helicopter parents. So, and it's like, takes the right parent to walk that line. But I do agree. I like want the kids to be able to figure it out for themselves. Like, as long as they're kept in like a group, they can figure it out. And it's a great learning environment.
Yeah. Maybe we were talking yesterday about, it came up when I was talking to some of the bike bus leaders in Southeast Portland, and someone was like, what we haven't really done is the ride home. There's not like an organized thing in the ride home. So maybe anybody out there hears this that's working on bike bus stuff, like, so you do the parent led thing, you do all the organization to get all the kids to school, but maybe the ride home is like smaller groups, or friend groups can get together. So anyway, work toward a future where the kids are just a little bit more autonomous, if and when possible. Of course, I started interjecting my ideas, as I often do when I'm covering stuff, and I was like, well, we got to get permanent signage that tells everybody where exactly the bike bus route is. And I was envisioning like this big yellow and black pavement marking that goes through the intersection, uncut pavement marking of paint all the way, back to, there's the bike bus route, and like kids could essentially follow that. So anyway, digressing here a little bit, I wonder, what do you think? Are there some elements that are going on in Hood River that you think could be useful to folks in bigger cities? Some elements of what you're doing with kids in schools that you think is, could be used by folks like you in bigger cities like Portland?
Let me think about that one for a second. I mean, what I lack, it's this weird. So what I don't have in Hood River is we don't have a planner, we don't have an engineer, we don't have a transportation engineer or planner. Same in the county. And so essentially I get to use like the rural design guide and go to my city leadership and be like, this is what we should be doing, or this is the grant we should be applying for. And I don't get very much pushback. A lot of the times they question my expertise, but since there's nobody there, really to do it. That's what's so hard between rural and urban, is that there is this really nice crop of expertise, like in Peabot. I feel like in a rural environment, you can't. This is a lesson I learned hardcore when I first moved here. You cannot not be nice in a small town. And I have found that sometimes when people, I think that they're being malicious or they have bad intentions, sometimes I just need to talk to them. Before I like throw them under the bus, I just need to talk to them and figure out what's going on. And I would say 99.5% of the time, it wasn't bad intentions or anything that I thought it was. It was just ignorance. And so that's like a good lesson that I can convey, because, you know, back in Boston days, as somebody said, we can't take away parking for a bike lane for kids because X. It wasn't anything that they were maliciously trying to do. You just had to unpack it a little bit more. It was easier. It was almost easier to be an urban advocate, because you could just like, oh, that guy's like an asshole because he's opposing a bike lane for kids. But here you cannot do that.
Every one person has such a huge share of like influence, because there's so many fewer people, kind of, right? So if you're not nice, it's gonna come back. Yeah, interesting. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, and same thing goes. You have to be a nice driver, because more like if you cut somebody off or anything, you probably know that person.
Right.
So yeah, that's one thing I would take if I ever move back into the big city. It's just like trying to be kind first. I call it the Ted Lasso, like putting on the Ted Lasso hat. It's like, how do you win people over with your charm?
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you brought up the hat, because I'm a little disappointed you're not wearing your train conductor hat.
I know.
You still have it?
I wonder.
I know you do.
Yes, I think it's in the garage somewhere.
Cool.
Yeah, I love that hat, and it's funny because I'm bringing up a third rail topic, but I had to stop wearing it because. Why do you think?
I have a feeling
helmets.
The impact of car culture on our fashion has been widely felt in America through history.
Yes. Yeah, it was really too
Dang
bad. And that was actually a really good conversation I had with a couple of women who were teachers in our community, and they came to me, and it's funny, like Sam is like my like my personal therapist, and I think maybe it goes both ways, but I don't know. Hey, yeah. I get to call him and be like, walk me through this, like I don't know. And he's like, do you want to talk, or do you want me to listen, or can I say something? And I was like, yes. And he's like, I think you just need to swallow this one, and then they don't have anything that they can possibly say about you. You know, it's just like,
yep.
I was like, okay, I get it.
Especially given what you said before, like, you know, that in terms of being nice, and you know, it would only take a few people to get really locked in on that helmet thing, and then you wouldn't be able to do all the other cool stuff we're doing. Yeah, exactly.
No, I wouldn't have the job. Like, and it's like sometimes I just have to pick my battles with that one. It's funny that even people are like, we don't care what you do in your personal life, just when you're with the kids, just wear a helmet. I'm like, okay, whatever.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, you're fighting some amazing battles, and it's fun to watch, actually. So we didn't even talk about all the stuff that you're working on. I'm gonna leave some of that for next time we chat. But
I know.
Anything you're doing an e-bike library, right? You're doing an e-bike library. I know you've been really involved with e-bike stuff.
On the Hood River Bridge.
Yep. Hood River Bridge.
There's the Heights streetscape that's coming up. Yeah, there's so much. And I'm going to Dubuque, Iowa to write a guide for Bike About this summer by their request.
She did it again, everyone. She just glosses over this thing, Bike About, which is like this bike travel, amazing, fun, online and offline. You've written printed things as well, right?
No, I leave it to them to print, but I've always played around with, I want to produce like a zine through, who's Joe and Ellie?
Microcosm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you totally should. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Bike About's cool. Check that out too, folks. So people like, I mean, what the basic model is what now people like, you can be commissioned to go and ferret out all the ways to enjoy a place by bike. And then you do the photos and write it all up and everything. And then tourism agencies and stuff can just do with it what they may.
Yes, yeah. So I make it where people can essentially use the photos and the dialogue to. In this case, it was one of the project directors for the city of Dubuque for their transportation division really wanted me to come out. So
That's amazing.
I love it. And it's funny. We went to Paris last year, and I still haven't published that guide because it's like such a big. It's almost like I have so much respect for that city and what they've done that I just can't wrap my brain around publishing that guide, but I'm still working on it.
Totally know how you feel on that. Well, it was fun, wrapping our brains around all the stuff you're doing, at least for this relatively brief chat. But I appreciate it. Is there anything else that you want to share with folks here from Hood River County?
I look forward to seeing many of you, and dragging a lot of my Hood River County folk to Palooza this year, and I really hope to host a couple rides this summer.
Cool.
Per Kyle Johnson. Kyle's keeps needling me please host a ride in Hood River, especially a kid-friendly ride. So maybe
try to bring a bike club on an extended field trip, like a bike club group. That would be epic.
They keep asking me, when are we going to Portland again this year? And I was like, I'm working on it. Yeah.
That would be so fun.
Yep.
Well, Megan, thanks so much for chatting. Really appreciate it, and good luck with all the stuff you're doing. And please keep me posted so I can cover it when it's necessary.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, for everything you do.
You're welcome. See ya.